Thanks again for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the session. I'd like to hand over to Dominic So to kick us off.
All right. There you go. So a very good morning to everyone, and I just want to say a big thank you to Study Melbourne, StartSpace, and State Library Victoria for making this platform available. Thanks to everyone who's tuning in. Thanks so much for investing the time, for doing whatever it takes to actually invest in your own personal and professional success. So before I begin, I'll also like to first and foremost acknowledge the traditional owners of the land where we carry out our lives and conduct our business. I respectfully recognize elders past, present, and emerging. So today's keynote address, how to be future ready and recession proof. Embrace entrepreneurship. So today I just want to walk you through a journey on how entrepreneurship has helped myself and how you are able to actually embrace it in whatever shape or form it might be with regards to your situation, your challenges, and your context. So for myself, I came to Australia, to Melbourne specifically in February 2011 as an international student. I was born in Singapore, did my mechanical engineering degree over there, and came over to do my postgraduate studies in engineering management and business. So I was just doing what international students usually was doing. You can see me there just being fascinated by the tram handle, chilling out with some friends, and during our free time, a couple of my friends and I, we decided to print out some cards and go to like an arts market just to have a go at selling some stuff to try to get some cash in. But we only managed to sell one greeting card. But nevertheless, it was still a great experience. Just hanging out, just trying to work part-time, trying to make ends meet, working through your assignments, going through exams, the whole lot. So if you're an international student going through this process, I'm sure you can totally relate to this. So the next thing after this process was when I actually went into the job search phase. So that was when I actually went through the job search wilderness. And if you are a migrant or international student, you might agree with me that getting a job is really difficult. So in fact, for myself, I spent 1.5 years looking for work. So I call this period the job search wilderness. So sending out hundreds of resumes, not receiving any replies from employers, going for interviews and not hearing from there after. So what do I do with regards to this situation? I remember I was just sitting in my apartment on this typical winter Melbourne morning. Feels like it right now, but I think the sun is up, so which is good. So on the day itself, everything felt really gray. The skies were gray, my room was gray, the carpet was gray, my laptop is gray. I was feeling really gray because I must have sent out like my 378th resume to no avail. And I remembered Albert Einstein saying this. So he had this amazing quote that literally changed my life. He said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So to rephrase this, if you want a different outcome, you would likely have to change the action, change the things that you are doing. So if you want to get to where you haven't been before, you will need to do things which you haven't done before. So here is myself, jobless, unemployed, feeling discouraged, feeling really anxious, feeling disappointed with my future, and just wondering what lies ahead. So at that point of time, I made a decision that I really had to strategize. I really had to innovate and do something different. So what I did with my friend is that we started a careers magazine. So you might be wondering, two jobless people starting a careers magazine. It's quite ironic, right? But what we did was we actually interviewed industry experts. We consolidated their advice and then put it on our online and print platforms. So you can see in the next slide, it's through this endeavor, through the hustle, through the grind, while looking for jobs, while applying for jobs on Seek, while working part-time, while working on this magazine as well, we were able to reach about 3,000 to 4,000 university students in across 6 Victorian universities. So it's really nice to be able to partner with different universities, get the magazine out to as many students as possible, because we understood that we know how it feels like to be jobless, to be uncertain and anxious about your career. And so we want to find ways to to practically help others who might be in the same boat as well. And through this process, I had the opportunity to start having speaking engagements, and I conducted my first workshop in Melbourne Uni for a marketing student society. And the next picture was a workshop with the RMIT careers team. And I think that is Building 80, which is the business building. And the third picture is I had a chance to be part of the Melbourne International Student Conference, which was held sometime in 2014 or 2015. And that was where we got a chance to pitch our business idea. So it's through this that I had the chance to meet with like-minded people, had a chance to put myself out there and to use my passion for speaking to start to inspire and empower people. So fast forward, couple of moments from there. So you can see here, I had a chance to have my story featured on different media outlets as well. And at the end of the day, when I finally managed to secure full-time employment as a business and management trainer, I counted the number of resumes I've sent in my email account, and the number was 526. So 526 applications across the span of 1.5 years before securing employment. So this is something which I never wish for anyone to go through, but if you're struggling, I can totally understand. It is tough, but it's never impossible. All right, so fast forward to today. So through this whole process, and through different speaking engagements and putting myself out there, and through entrepreneurship as well. I had a chance to speak on the TEDx stage twice in Melbourne. Currently, I'm working as the head of people and culture at Dadarati. I'm also had the chance to travel around the globe to speak in over 12 countries and 12 plus cities like New York, Copenhagen, Stockholm, Helsinki, Munich, Geneva. Had a chance to coach individuals from EY, Deloitte, and ANZ Bank while doing my speaking on the side while having a day job. And through that, I was able to make about 5 figures in speaking revenue through the speaking engagements and coaching itself. So this is how actually entrepreneurship got me out of the rut. And through this presentation and through this entire festival, I hope that you take the chance to start to think about what entrepreneurship means for you. All right. So the next thing which I want to cover as well is this. So I call this the 4 horsemen of the employment apocalypse. This is not to freak you out. All right. So but we all know that we live in times of change, of uncertainty, and of disruption. And it is imperative that we brace ourselves for impact and find ways to continuously make ourselves relevant and competitive. So it's definitely very crucial for us to understand what's happening out there so that we can position ourselves not just to survive, but also to thrive. Let me just go through these 4 horsemen just very briefly, all right? So the first one is AI and automation. So will the machines actually eat our jobs? Is the machines actually taking over the world? Maybe yes, maybe no. According to PwC UK, they were saying that 30% of jobs are at potential risk of automation by the mid-2030s. 44% of workers with lower education are at risk of automation by the mid-2030s as well. The gig economy and outsourcing. So people working in Uber, full-time jobs being fragmented. Right. So about 36% of US workers are in the gig economy. And at the current rate of growth in the world economy, more than 50% of the US workforce will be in the gig economy, which is really interesting, all these stats. Number 3 is market saturation. So we can see that there are more graduates being pumped out and produced than jobs being created. So the landscape is becoming more saturated and competitive. So it's more and more important for us to find our point of difference and a point of differentiation. Rising cost of living and economic volatility. So this is another piece. More than 50% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. In Australia, it's about the same number as well. About 50% of Aussies live paycheck to paycheck. 23% have no emergency emergency savings. So things are becoming more expensive. Financial stresses are becoming a thing as well. And this can actually affect not just our lives, but actually your career. Because if you're financially stressed, you might actually bring that baggage into the workplace. So it's very important for us to actually understand the landscape, but all is not lost, because this is where entrepreneurship can step in. So how we are able to tackle the situation and how we can actually fight back in a way is by embracing entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship is not just about starting a business. All right, it can also be seen as a way of life and a way of thinking. So if you're stuck in a rut, if you can't seem to find viable opportunities, maybe you're in the best place to create opportunities, because the problems and challenges we face, sometimes they are opportunities in disguise. You just have to create the solution for it. The next one, leverage the power of the side hustle. So whether it's creating a side business, a side project, whether it's creating a website, if you're a programmer or a software developer, is creating an app on the side. Maybe you're passionate about e-commerce, you can create your online store. Or maybe if you're in the media space, you want to create your own YouTube channel. So leverage the power of the side hustle, because it definitely allows you to build up transferable and industry relevant skills. The next one, intentions, actions, and results. All right. If you want to be massively successful in your craft, you need to find ways to go from intention to action and then to results. All right. People starting out, they have the best of intentions. You're really passionate about something, and that is really great. But if you want to go to the next level, make sure your passion is backed by results. You do something about it, you take action, you implement, you execute, you make things happen. And from there, if you want to go to the next level, then start to measure yourselves in terms of the results. Have you actually generated revenue? Have you gotten a return on your investment? Okay. Number 4, learn to earn and earn to learn. All right. So definitely build up your skills so that you can actually create financial opportunities for yourself. You can find ways to create new income streams. And from there, once you've gotten your returns, reinvest it in yourself, because you are your greatest asset. All right. So continue to build up your skills, continue to invest in self-improvement, and also continue to disrupt yourself. All right. And last but not least, just go for it. All right. There are plenty of resources out there, plenty of information out there. And being an entrepreneur now, it's really exciting times. All right. There's so much funding, there's so much guidance, there's so much support. So go for it. Because at the end of the day, all right, this might sound more spiritual and philosophical. You know, at the end of the day, you don't want to be that person who is 80, 90 years old, sitting on the rocking chair, looking back at your life, wishing that you would have taken action when you had the chance. Because to be really honest, the greatest pain in life isn't the pain of failure, isn't the pain of ridicule, isn't the pain of disappointment, isn't the pain of rejection. It is actually the pain of regret. All right. So right now, while we are still alive and breathing, when we have the chance, when we have the opportunity, give it a go. You know, for some of my coaching clients, the advice I give to them is, no matter what happens, live an epic life. Because if it's an epic win, it's a great story for the grandkids. If it's an epic fail, it's a great story for the grandkids as well. So you might as well go for it. So I hope all this makes sense to you all. Leverage all the opportunities you can, meet as many people as you can, take down as much notes, absorb everything as much as like a sponge, but make sure you put them into practice. All right. You take action, you hold yourself accountable, you find someone to guide you, mentor you along the way, you measure your results, and then you make things happen. So this is my bit for this address. And I think the next part is a Q&A with Demi.
Thank you so much for that, Dominic. That was awesome. You touched on a little bit about how regret is scarier than failure, right? You mentioned that a little bit. And I wonder then, what is your outlook on failure for some students who may be, or future entrepreneurs who may be petrified of failing or embarrassing themselves along the journey?
So that's a very good question, Demi. So I think it's all about reframing failure. So see failure as learning and teaching opportunities, because as much as we want to go for success, that is good, but sometimes the best teacher and the best lessons come from failure themselves. Because as long as you're learning from the failure, that failure is justified, unless you actually keep making the same mistakes over and over again. So expose yourself to mindful and purposeful failure. That's a good thing. Make sure you find a lesson and learning in it and make yourself come up from it better.
Yeah, once we come to terms with failure is inevitable, we can move past it and accept it, right?
Exactly. That's right.
Well, what would be like the biggest piece of advice you would have for someone who feels as though they are where you were when you were sending out those 500 plus emails of resumes? They just feel as though they have no options at the moment and that there's no hope. They feel as though there's no hope for them at the moment. What would be your biggest piece of advice to someone like in that position?
Yeah, so I think if you're really in a state of massive disappointment and discouragement, if you have to get help, do seek assistance. There is no shame in that, whether seeking assistance from your university career service or from a friend, or even from maybe like a counselor or someone, a trained professional. So there is absolutely no harm in that. But I think the other piece is also making sure that you do whatever that's within your means. Because if you look at the current landscape, there is no doubt that there are a lot of things which are beyond our control. We can't control what happens in the COVID landscape. We can't control what happens in the economy. But on the flip side, there are a lot of things which are also within our control. How you respond to things will be the greatest determinant on the level of success you attain. So it's how we respond to it. What are we going to do about it in the midst of our current situation?
Brilliant advice. I love that.
Mm.
I love your positive outlook on things as well. It's all about mindset and perception, isn't it?
Exactly. So I think having the right perception is really important, but also taking the right action to accompany that positive mindset. So you need to constantly put yourself out there. So for example, if you are scared of meeting new people, so you can read as much as you can about communication or confidence, and that's really good. But the best way to build up those skills is actually to get out there and meet people for real, or if not, at least virtually.
For sure, I totally agree. It's all about doing. Now, you mentioned before, I think the job search or just starting something, whether it's a project or a business or, like you said in the beginning, selling cards and only selling one, it's already a difficult journey to go through. And then adding the extra layer of being in a new country, being a migrant, all of those things, being an international student, it adds an extra layer to things, doesn't it? And I wonder, for those students who are listening and are looking to do these things, are kind of getting stuck in that extra layer of adversity that they're facing, how can they turn adversity into something that's an advantage for them? Mm-hmm. And what's a first small step they can take to change their perspective on something like that?
It's a very good question, Demi. So I think in your question is also the answer. So you mentioned the first small step. So it's all about finding your next small step. So for myself, like I'm really passionate about long distance endurance running, and I've done a couple of 100 km plus ultra marathons. So 100 km is really long. It's hard for the normal person to wrap their heads around, but you finish this massive race one step at a time. So it applies for different situations or challenges you might be facing. So this is the power of segmenting, breaking it down into really manageable and digestible bits, finding your next small step, going towards your next smallest win. So what could that be? So could it be just going out and saying hi to a stranger? So if you're really introverted, you're really some might call you socially awkward. You might feel reserved and all that. So maybe just saying hi to a stranger is a big win already. So start from there and then continue your next win and so on and so forth.
Yeah, amazing. It seems one of the common themes within your story is having people around you or some kind of support or seeking out that community. It seems like it was a really important part to your story. So, and you always seem to come back to that as a small step. So would you advise people to connect with their peers, to work together, to support each other in that way? What's your outlook on community when in an environment like this?
Exactly. So investing in your relationships, professional or personal, is really important, because they say that your network determines your net worth, and teamwork makes the dream work. So there are two groups of people you need to invest more time in. So the first one is like-minded people. So maybe it's people around who are in the same boat as you. So at least you guys can share your struggles. At least you know that you're not doing this alone, that everyone's on the same journey as you. All right, so that's the first bit. The second bit are people who are operating at a higher level than you. So it could be role models, it could be people who are already established and successful, people who have gotten the results and are crushing it in the place which you want to be. So meet with them, because they are able to actually point out your blind spots. They can share with you their lessons so that you don't have to waste time making those mistakes which they have made for you already. So one of the best life hacks is actually to engage a coach or a mentor, because when you have, for example, like a half-hour meeting with them, they're actually compressing and condensing 30 years of learning, life lessons, business lessons into 30 minutes. You get the best stuff, and so that you don't have to make the same mistakes as them, and then you can go from there. Yeah.
And similar to what you said before, just engaging with a mentor or something isn't going to be the answer, right? They have to do after that as well. Taking action is the important part, isn't it?
Exactly.
Would you have any advice on how somebody can seek mentors or seek community, or is it just back to those small little steps of starting off saying hi to someone one week and then the next week leveling up each time?
Yeah, so it depends on your level of ambition and appetite. So if you're still trying to figure your head around things, just take the baby steps. But once you have gotten your footing, once things start to become more familiar, things start to make more sense to you, then just take bigger leaps, right? So for example, in this case, just reach out to the speakers. So because they say that, fortune favors the bold. When you reach out, you have nothing to lose. If they say no, if they ignore you, not your problem. Your problem is you taking the initiative in the first place. So just go for it. If they say no, that's fine. But if they say yes, it could be a pivotal and life-changing moment. So there is almost no downside, but there is massive upside to it. So just go for it.
For sure. Totally agree. We mentioned, and it's really prominent in your story as well, that when it's coming to the startup space, entrepreneurship, or just seeking work in any form, it's filled with a lot of ups and downs. So how do you keep your mind strong, and how do you keep on top of your mental health throughout those up and down struggles that you can face in this environment?
Yeah, so I like to call this looking at both sides of the coin. So on one side of the coin, we have the piece on mindfulness, right? So this is where you need to take care of yourself. If you need to take a break, if you need to rest and reflect, do so. If you need to get support, do so. But on the flip side is the piece on usefulness. So this is where you put yourself out there. This is where you go through the hustle, the grind, put in a bit of sacrifice, make the effort, go overtime if you have to. All right, so it's actually a fine balance, because if we go to one extreme too much, nothing much gets done. But if we go on the other extreme too much, we might end up burning ourselves. So we are the best judge of which side we need to have more emphasis on. So mindfulness and usefulness. Yeah.
Are there any practices that you would recommend to students that keep you on top of this? You mentioned running before. Is there anything else that you do that helps with this kind of stuff?
Yeah, so I do practice a lot of meditation and prayers, especially in the morning. So in the morning, before I start the day, I like to go for a quick jog around the park. And after my jog, when I'm cooling down, just letting my sweat cool, I'll just sit down on a park bench, put my timer for about 3 minutes. And that's where I just shut my eyes. I just clear out whatever thoughts that's in my head and just enjoy the silence and the space. So this actually primes my mind so that I take away all the emotional baggage, all the noise and distractions. I get myself in the right head space. And then from there, I can tackle and take on the challenges of the day.
Amazing. Well, for any students that are listening to this, I would definitely make sure that you take on some of these practices that Dominic is saying, because even before we started, your outlook on things is so positive and you bring such a great perspective to things. I think it's really something that I definitely want to make sure I'm always more mindful and stuff. And it's super prominent in your journey on where you've been. And I think we can learn a lot from your story. And it seems like these things have helped get you to where you are today. And it's an important part of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you so much, Demi, and thanks so much for the kind words. So for everyone who's tuning in today, you know what? We're all in this together. There's so much support and resources. Study Melbourne, Start Space, State Library Victoria, different co-working spaces, incubators, accelerators, and all that. So it's a great time to be an entrepreneur, whether you do a business full-time, part-time, overtime, whatever that suits your needs. So just see what's available out there, give it a shot. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for that. And if people want to connect with you, Dominic, where is the best place for them to get in touch there? Or if they want to follow where you're going now?
So definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn. So because that is where I post content. A lot of it is inspirational, motivational, personal, professional development. Sometimes I'll post stuff that really challenge your thinking. So if you like that kind of stuff, just reach out and we can connect from there.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for all of this. That was fantastic. I know I learned a lot, and I'm sure everyone here really valued all of that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you to Demi and Dominic. So that's where we're wrapping up this early morning session. Thank you for that engaging, thoughtful conversation about your journey, Dominic. Before we'd like to end the session, we'd just like to mention a few things about what we do here at StartSpace. So StartSpace is here for you all year round to really support you as you work on your business idea. You're not sure where to start at StartSpace. So you can apply for a free membership, join the StartSpace community to access training, workshops, meet other founders, and use our co-working venue here at State Library Victoria. So you can find out more information at startspacehq.com, sign up for a newsletter and apply to join the community. That's all we have time for this morning. Look forward to seeing you at the next sessions. Thanks, everyone.